Yeah, my name is Roman Zanoni. I am a trauma recovery specialist. I specialize in helping people overcome the effects of CPTSD, that's complex post traumatic stress disorder,
Okay.
which is the common result of being a prisoner of war or growing up with narcissistic parents, abusive parents, or being in a long term relationship with an abuser or a narcissist. So that's my specialty, is helping people to heal from complex trauma.
Okay. You said a trauma healing specialist.
Hmm.
Is this like a certification you have? Is it? I never heard of that. I never heard that term before. Trauma healing specialist. So
Uh, so
you take clients who have PTSD from whatever situation, and you help help them navigate it and like try to get them towards the healing that they're looking for.
yeah, so I consult for clinicians and help them to be able to learn how to help their clients to heal from trauma, which is really at the root of most mental illness anyway.
Right.
And that means how are we going to help the client to overcome anxiety? How do we help them to overcome depression? How do we help them to overcome low self worth, low self esteem, loss of self, loss of purpose, loss of values, the sense of dread, the fear that they're experiencing? It's about getting real results. So I
Mm.
help the clinicians to be able to get those results with their clients. And I also work with the clients themselves and help those survivors to overcome the effects of complex trauma, narcissistic abuse.
Right. That's dope, man. It's dope that you helping people out like that. How long have you been in that field?
I've been a specialist for the last 2 years in this field, but I've been counseling for uh, something like 20 plus years.
20 years. You look like
Mm-hmm.
25 or something like that.
Nah, bro, I'm about to turn 40.
Really? I'm close. I'm getting up there too. I'm 30, 37, I think. I make myself forget sometimes. But I'll be 38 in January. But people still tell me I look pretty young.
Yeah, you can't tell at all.
You know what they say, black don't crack and all that. But the reason why I wanted to bring you on the show is I was scrolling, doom scrolling through TikTok or whatever, and I saw one of your videos breaking down Jada Pinkett and her narcissistic tendencies in the relationship she has with Will Smith. And I thought what you said was very eloquently put, and it seemed like you really knew what you were talking about. And I think you posted a few clips about it, and I watched a few of them. And there were terms that you brought up to describe some of her behavior. And let's see, one of them was like narcissistic slipstreaming. Can you give us an example of how she would portray this behavior with Will, or
Yeah,
how a certain person would, or what the term means?
absolutely. So slipstreaming is taken from racing, where a driver will go behind another driver, another car, or this is in bicycling and motorcycling as well,
Right.
so that they have less wind resistance. They'll ride behind the person who's in the front. And so they're following the leader, but this now allows them to gain more momentum by riding behind that leader because that person is taking the majority of the wind resistance. As they gain more momentum, they can eventually get into a position where they can pass the person in front of them. Because of the mindset of a narcissist, they view the world in a hierarchy, like they're in a race.
Right.
So they want to get out in front of their loved ones, their wife, their husband. So, what a narcissistic wife, for instance, might do is latch on to a powerful, popular, talented, well loved husband
Mm.
or boyfriend, and then ride in his wake behind him and gain that momentum for herself. So this is going to help her to boost her notoriety, boost her career, and she's going to get the access to his resources, access to his connections, access to his audience. And once she gets herself into a certain position of notoriety, she will wait until he does something to falter.
Mm-hmm.
And then she will take that opportunity to pull out in front of him. Whereas a non-narcissistic spouse will try to support you in your time of falter,
Right.
will be trying to hold you down in your time of weakness. What you see happens interestingly with a narcissistic wife or spouse is that they take that opportunity to continually put you down and to make you look crazy and to bring more attention to your fault, to your flaw, because they have the underlying covert goal of actually becoming more loved or more popular than you,
And to
even
be
though
the
it's delusional that you could
superior,
ever achieve that.
and to be the
Mhm.
superior person in the situation.
Yes,
Wow.
because of the childhood trauma, the delusion that's created is there's a hierarchy. The people at the top get their needs met. Everyone else is dogs. They're nothing.
Mm.
They're worthless. And if I don't want to be worthless, I need to be on top and I need to win. So for a narcissistic wife, if you have a husband like Will Smith, for instance,
Right.
where he's so loved and everyone's always praising him, it burns every time someone is like, oh, your husband is this, your husband is that. Oh, a narcissistic woman doesn't take that as a compliment.
Mm.
She takes that as like an insight to competition. It's painful for her to hear that she's still number two. And
Right.
that's the way they think it. As illogical as it seems to us, that's the way the narcissist sees the world. So they will bide their time and bite their tongue, waiting for the opportunity to get in front, and that is slipstreaming.
Wow. Yeah, that's the first time I heard that term when I saw your video on it, and you just gave me more insight on it. But it sounds like, because you said like the fact that the husband in this case is praised and exalted by everybody. It in the narcissistic wife, it infuriates them to play second fiddle, and the more successful the husband, the more mad and maybe depressed the narcissistic wife gets. Because I watched the recent podcast with Jada, and she spoke to that a little bit. But I remember when Will was, on the red table, and they were talking about, and I think Willow was there. This isn't the time where she like confessed to like smashing August and all that. This is when he was telling the story, and I read his book. He was telling the story of how his wife was like really depressed. Jada was really depressed. What reason she has to be depressed, I don't know, but she was really depressed. She cried for like 40 days and nights. It was like a biblical like cry attack that she had, and he couldn't figure out what to do. So he was like, I'm gonna do a grand gesture. Her birthday is coming up. If I'm not mistaken, he spent like $1 million, researched for like 3 years, and put this whole big birthday plan together for her, and tried to make sure everything involved in it was everything she liked. She invited her favorite singers, her whole family, had a recording of her grandma or something like that. And he said the party was going down, and he was looking at her like a little puppy, like, please give me some, give me some praise for doing this for you, or maybe appreciate it, please.
Validation.
Yeah, validation. That's the word. And she looked at him after everything he just did and was like, he said, like, she said,
Is
this
the
is
most
the ridiculous display
of ego.
Right.
Her 40th birthday was going to be my thing.
It was going to be a splash.
It was going to be a splash. Mary J. Blige performed. I debuted the film, all of that. It was going to be the thing that lifted her out of this midlife crisis, and it was going to be my deepest, most beautiful proclamation of love, and we did it. And I had found tapes of Jada's grandmother, and her grandmother had recorded these voice messages over the last 8 months of her life.
Wow.
And it was tapes that Jada had never heard.
Wow.
So Jada had to sit there and listen. I understand thoroughly now. At the time I didn't. But she's listening to these never before heard tapes of one of the dearest people she's ever known in her life, in front of all of these people. So she's holding it together, she's getting it together. Then I have Mary J. Blige performing. The whole time I'm like,
yeah.
the little boy that wants mommy to say everything was wonderful, right? And she's having a really difficult emotional time. And then when we got back to the room, it was me, you, and mommy, and we were talking about the next day, and there were things planned for the next day, and she said, I'm not sure I want to do anything the next day.
I just wanted to have intimate time.
Just intimate time. And I was like, well, I'll cancel tomorrow. She was like, it's my birthday.
Yeah.
Right? And she's told me that the party was the most ridiculous display of my ego.
Woo.
I remember the first time I saw that and I was like, what? Like, that would have been my out right there. Like, I just spent $1 million and did everything in my power to try to finally make you happy. And that's what you tell me in front. I think it was in front of the whole party and stuff too. But yeah, I think you spoke to that too. Tell me your views on that.
It's so imperceptible to people on the outside that a man can be emotionally abused in a relationship. Especially a man that is viewed as powerful, as rich, the idea that, and strong, the idea that he could be the abused one is imperceptible.
Right.
But this is an example of how it actually works. If the man is codependent, if the man is a people pleaser, a validation seeker, then he is prime prey for a withholding, a neglectful, a narcissistic woman to prey upon his desire to always win, to always succeed, because he will apply that just like he applied it in his career. He applies it in his household.
Right.
He applies it in his relationship. So his mindset is love will prevail. If I work hard enough in this relationship, I will prove my love. And that's what he said. This was going to be my grand gesture of love, because he thinks, and this is cognitive distortion on his part, that love will solve the problem. That what she's missing, what she's lacking, is she needs to feel more loved. And that is the opposite of the truth. So she knows she's weaponizing this, but the problem is he's so good at what he does that he actually hit it out of the park with that birthday party. It wasn't that he failed. He hit it out of the park.
Oh, he
it
did
was
too good.
undeniable. And now from her perspective, remember, it's a hierarchy. So if he killed it, now he smashed away her justification for being angry and mad all the time. And he's going to get praised, not only for being him and being a great husband, but for even curing her of her unhappiness and curing the marriage. She cannot have that.
Right.
So what can she do? What is the way that she can prove that this was actually a failure? And the term is gaslighting. Gaslighting is now to make the person and everyone else believe or that the person had bad intentions. So you're doubting your intentions, and you're believing that you're ill or you're wrong in some moral way. So that's gaslighting, setting someone up to believe that their beliefs, their reality isn't real, and my reality is real. So she had to introduce or spin a whole new way of looking at this. And what does she come up with? It's quite brilliant. You have a ridiculously huge ego, and that's what this whole party is. It's just a display of your ego.
Yeah.
And now what can a man who definitely has an ego, who definitely is rich and famous, who's made money on his ego,
Right.
what could he say except for, wow, maybe on some level you're right, especially when he's codependent and he's susceptible to the gaslighting and he is not a narcissist, therefore he can take responsibility.
Mm.
He saw the flaw in himself and he said, you know what, I guess on some level this was about my ego. As, by the way, it would be for any man who does a grand gesture for their woman, and that's not wrong.
Right.
When we buy our woman anything big, it is about our ego. When we drop a rack on a shopping trip or whatever it is, yeah, it's about our ego, but it's
Yeah.
about her too. Everyone is winning, but
Right.
not in a narcissist's mind. Everyone can't win with the narcissist. They feel like if you're winning, then I'm not winning. And so she had to shut it down instead of seeing it as, hey, we're all winning here. No, she had to kill it by making him believe that this was only about his ego and not about her, and this wasn't what she wanted. And so she said, no, I don't want to do the next. He had days planned of this thing. She said, I don't want to do the next day. I just want something small. He said, that's fine. That's fine. I'll cancel it. But it wasn't good enough. Her point is to equivocate and say, no, I just like small things. You did it wrong because I want small things. And she snapped. She said, it's my birthday. It's to what he said, I'll cancel tomorrow. And she snapped. She said, it's my birthday. This is my birthday. And so she spun this whole thing and showed everyone how sad and upset she was that Will could do such a horrible thing as to spend 3 years and $1 million trying to make her happy. That was just the most selfish thing he could have possibly done.
That is
according to her gaslighting.
Crazy, man. That's so crazy. Thanks for watching this clip of the Quote Goats podcast. I truly hope you enjoyed yourself and maybe even learned something new. If you haven't already, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so that you never miss a clip, short, or full episode of the show. See you guys next time. Peace.